Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle. We are on the second to last little goodie from Marlene's new release, and today I'm playing with this Oodles of Doodles stencil. I started off with my new Perfect Size journal, but then I realized it's going to be way too small. So I took out the artist size journal, that's the big one, and I'm just going to use a double spread there. So what I've just done there is I just took some masking tape, I've blotted it off the gluey side a little bit on that rag of mine, and then I stuck the two pages together to make one whole page. So my idea evolved a little bit throughout this play. When I first saw the stencil, I was so excited and I couldn't wait to play with it. And strangely enough, I've left it till now to play with. And I must say that I did struggle a bit for the idea to come together. I stuck to my initial, my initial idea is eventually what came through, but I did kind of change my mind and I was forward and backwards with what I was going to do. But eventually I kind of ended up with what I wanted from the beginning. I don't often have an idea in my head when I start, but for this page, I had this idea and I was determined to make it work. Halfway through, I thought, oh no, this is not going to work. But anyway, eventually we got there. I'm taking this stencil and I'm just using some offcuts of white project board. I really need to get to the shop so I can buy some more because I've run out. So I'm using little scraps with bits at the back there. But anyway, and I'm stenciling it out a couple of times in black. And then I'm also drawing the shape of the inside because I thought that I would cut the center out. And because it's the first time that I've used the stencil, I wasn't sure if the doodles would connect to the center, but they actually do. So, it was just playing and trial and error and trying to find a way that this is going to work. Giving it a quick clean because if you've been here for a while, you know that I've learned an expensive lesson in cleaning my stencils. So I am kind of particular about it now. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these frames on screen. Then I'm going to stop the video and I will do the rest off screen because it did take an awfully long time to get them done. So the process was stencil it out in black. Now I'm going in with my black paint pens and I'm just completing the doodle. So I'm connecting it to that center part there, which I also drew in. And now I'm going to go in with some rainbow colors and I'm going to color each of those little scallopy bits in a different color. When I was done with that, I liked it, but I thought it lost the doodly kind of feel for it. So when I was done adding my colors, I went around the whole thing with my fine black Posca paint pen. And I just made some extra scribbly doodly lines over what I've done and also around it. And then in the end, I also added some white. And I'm really, really pleased with the way that the white looks. Obviously, when I colored the doodles in, I didn't color every little single white spot. So there were some bits peeking through, and adding this extra white line work in the end really, really brought it together for me. I really like the way it looks. And then over that thick black line that I did there, I just made some white stripes. And now I'm cutting the center of that frame away. And then I just wanted to also inking around with my black alcohol ink pen And then I just wanted to show you that this can now be changed. The center can be changed to a nice bright color or to some colored paper, patterned paper. You can pretty much put anything you want in there. I did decide to leave them white in the end. I felt like the colored paper and the patterns were maybe too much. And then I'm going in with my little birds there. You can see I'm pulling my smaller journal back again because I wanted to try and see if that was going to work, but it was still too small. So I will come back to my bigger page. And this was a lot of like faffing and thinking, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? The idea in my head was just not pulling together for me at that stage, but it will in the end. Okay, so while I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, I thought, let me work on the background and then we'll take it from there. Going to just place these. I ended up not putting them back the same way, of course, because I couldn't remember the way that they went on. But I really liked this composition, and then I couldn't figure out how it went. So I just went with what I thought. And then that one with the cutout in the center, I actually glued a center back into it because it was now different to the others. And I definitely wanted to have either 3, 5, or 7 elements on my page because it's an odd number. So I just quickly fixed that one. And I'm going to work on the border of this page. So I wanted to add the border and make it look exactly the same as the frames, just to pull the whole page together. It would have worked fine if I just put the frames on the page. It would have been fine, but I wanted to do this border. First of all, from the first time I saw this, I knew that I wanted to do this border. And I also wanted the background and the foreground images to just pull together and look the same. So again, stenciled it with black, and now I'm just connecting all of those doodles with my black paint pen. And then later on, I will go in with my colors as well. I'm using exactly the same colors as I did before. And I'm going at it quite randomly. You know, I'm not particular. I am trying to spread the colors out. So with the pink, you'll see I'll go all the way around the line, and I'm doing the top and the bottom row just to make sure that there's enough pink. And then the same with the orange. I'm also trying to not put 2 colors like right next to each other. So there's that one little bit that's got orange, two lines of orange, but I will separate those lines with another color. It's a really, really fun exercise. I think the frames, if you had to stencil a whole bunch of frames onto a page, and you know, when you've got a little bit of downtime in front of the TV or wherever, it would be a fun exercise to just mass make a whole bunch of these little frames. You could add quotes into them, you could add images into them, you could handwrite quotes, stamp quotes. The possibilities with these are huge, and they will definitely be featured in my work a lot more. Okay, now you see my cute little border, and then I'm going to trim around the edges there to make sure that it's also just another little interactive element or a surprising element. You know, when you open a book, you'd expect the pages to be straight, but I do like having these pages different. Okay, time to finally get started on that background. I'm going in with kind of pastel-y colors, and I'm using my blending brush to do that. I wanted to make the background subtle or pastel-y because I wanted that contrast between that soft background and the more brightly colored frames. So I used Heaven mermaid and breeze. And then over the top, I will go in with a little bit of lavender as well, just to add a little pop of purple. I felt like it needed a little bit of purple. And again, I'm mostly sticking to groups of 3s or 5s on my pages as per usual. And I'm going to go in with a little bit of stenciling. I'm using the Frantic Deco stencil, and again sticking to the paler colors, and I've got Kermit there, and the Kermit is going over the kind of breeze kind of areas. And then I've got the mermaid there, and it's a little less subtle, but it's not in your face. And I will also go in with Punk. So Punk is Marlene's neon purple. It is, it's such a wonderful color to work with. It really ties blues, purples, and pinks together. As you can see, it's a nice subtle color over the top of this background. So if I had to use something like fuchsia or royal, it would have been much harsher than this subtle color. I really, really love using it on my pages. And then to add a little bit more detail, I'm going in with stamping. Again, I'm looking at where the green is, and then I'm stamping out of that section with my green ink. And then the same with the turquoise ink. I'm looking at where the turquoise bits are, and I'm stamping out of that. So I'm kind of creating clusters of mark making and extending the color of the background using my mark making, if that makes sense at all. I tried this other light blue ink that I had, but it didn't really show up all that much. So I'm going in with a different one. And this is the background building stamp set from Marlene that she's also just released. It is lovely. Okay, now I'm going to place my little elements back again. I'm trying to make them nice and random. At first I thought I would draw lines from the top to make them look like they are hanging. But in the end I decided not to do that. I wanted to do that so the page would make sense. But I also think, with art, we have license for things to not make perfect sense all the time. And in the end, it's just a bright, happy page with quirky characters and little sayings. And for me, I was very happy with the way that it turned out. Just placing down my little birdies. And then I will glue them down. So initially I wanted to use the birds on the frames, but also like hiding behind the frames, but that didn't work for me. So they're going over the top, and that's why I left that white space in the center there, because now you can actually see the birds. Whereas before, in that one that I had the center cut out, you couldn't see the bird really. It wasn't standing up nicely. So that's why I chose to do it this way. I'm doing a little scribbly line inside that white space because obviously with my stenciling, the sponge went over into that blank space. So it looks a little bit messy, but the scribbles do help to hide that a little bit. So you can't really notice it now. And then as per usual, I'm going in with my Stabilo All pencil and just doing a little outline, just doing one side predominantly and then a tiny bit on the other side. So I'm thinking about the light coming in from the left top corner of the page, and then the shadow will all be on the right and the bottom. So that's normally the rule of thumb that I have in my head when I add shadows, is the light source is coming in from the top left, so my shadows are on the right and the bottom. I'm also adding some shadowing around those frames just to pop them off a bit, make them look a little bit 3D. And once I'm happy with that, I'm adding another doodly border, of course. And I'm just adding some little more doodly bits inside those frames as well, just to, again, tie the border together with the frames. And then I'm going in and adding some quotes, just choosing little words. So one of them I know says wild child, but the others are like whimsical, wow, there's be weird, and I think I've got 2 sillies, and that one is stay wild. So just random quotes, not making a lot of sense, but I do like the way that it turned out. Yeah, I've got 2 sillies and then a little doodly border all around. Okay, tomorrow is my last video in this little series of Marlene's new release. Thank you so much for those of you who have been sticking around throughout the series. I have loved creating these extra videos for you. I love the feedback that I get from you. I think I'll be a little bit sad that it's over, but tomorrow we will be playing with the it's the wavy doodle one. I don't have the name off the top of my head, and see what we can create with that. Thanks for being here. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. I finished off with a black splatter because I thought that the page was needing something, and that black splatter just really pulled it all together for me. So I was really happy that I did that. All right. Please subscribe if you have not done so. Leave me a comment, like, do all of the things that the algorithms enjoy on YouTube. And while I finish off with this little border around my page, I will leave you to it and chat to you again tomorrow. Okay, bye.